In this session, we're going to be talking about ministering spiritually, which is the goal of our ESL ministry in the local church. There are many, many opportunities that we will have to share the gospel and the love of Jesus Christ. We need to be spiritually sensitive. That is very, very important when we're dealing with people from all over the world, from different cultures, different religions. You may have various religions represented in class, and you probably will. We've had Hindus, Muslims, Christians, evangelicals. We've had people from many, many religions that come to our class, and it's important that the teacher do maybe even a little bit of research online. I've done that. We have a group of people in some of our classes that are Mandaeans from countries like Iran and Iraq, and I thought, what is this religion? And I went home and did some research online, and it really helps to see where they're coming from, and that many of them have fled their home country and have become refugees because of their religion, which is a whole other dynamic when we're dealing with spiritual matters and spiritual issues. And regardless of who you have in class, there will be spiritual needs. Everybody has spiritual needs. And it's important for us as teachers and workers in ESL to find out what that individual, what that person, what our students believe about Jesus Christ. An ESL worker looks for opportunities to share his or her faith. We do this from the moment that the students arrive, asking them how their day is, how are you doing? And they ask us, how are you? And we say, God is good. We're glad to have you here. It's our witness. It's who we are. It's the love that we show. They're in the church building. These things are witnesses to what we believe and to the gospel and again the love of Christ that we share with them. So we look for many, many opportunities to share with our students our faith. One thing that Sherry mentioned in the previous session about inviting students to your home for a meal. You might or might not be able to invite all of the students. It depends on how big your class is. But that you sometimes zero in on a particular student, their family, someone that you've made connections with that has shown maybe a special interest in spiritual things. Invite them to your home and share with them while they're in your house. And oftentimes they will invite you to their home for a meal. Someone said that 85% of our internationals, migrants and refugees, have never been in an American home. 85%. And so what an opportunity to invite them to come to your home and another chance to share the love of Jesus Christ with them. Cultural sensitivity is so important. And I think we know all this, but may we just think about being sensitive in our words and in our actions. I had a friend the other day, one of our internationals, who's working with us, and he was telling me about some hand gestures that we use in English, in our culture, that those are not accepted. They're offensive in their culture. And it might be good for us to do a little bit of research and to be sensitive to some of those things. Of course, they are in our country, and they're becoming more accustomed to our culture here, but it would be good for us as workers in ESL to be sensitive to our students in our words and in our actions and how we react with them. That we respect other cultures, their culture and their religion, that their culture is important, that their culture might even vastly predate our own culture in the world, in world history. But we be respectful of their culture and even their religion. We may not agree with their religion at all, but that we be respectful and we don't tear down their religion. And I think we know this, but it just helps us to be reminded that when we're that when we're dealing with people from all over the world, that it is very, very important to be culturally sensitive. And then also, you see on the screen there on the slide, it says, be careful of church culture words. You know, we have church jargon that we use in the church world. Words like saved. Are you saved? A person who is learning English will not know what you're talking about. Have you invited Jesus to come into your heart? Again, they may not understand what you're talking about. So we have to be very, very careful of our communication when we're dealing with spiritual things, that we are clear. And even the word Christian, they may not understand exactly what that means. No, we're talking about a follower of Jesus Christ, not a nominal experience as a Christian, but as a follower of Jesus Christ. And so we need to be very, very careful of the words that we use. As we teach our English class, we need to be prepared to share our faith. We prepare, first of all, through personal prayer, praying for our students, praying for our workers, praying for this ministry. Prepare through personal prayer that God would open doors. And then number two, through your own personal experience, we share what Jesus Christ has done in our lives. You know, that's the greatest thing we could share. The greatest thing of all is what Jesus means to me. We review with them how to become a Christian. Avoid using church words, as I mentioned previously. Be positive and current. You know, it's okay to mention that, you know, I followed the Lord for 30 years. But what is Christ doing in my life today? To be current and to be positive about the love of Christ. And then tell why you needed Christ as a teacher. How did you need Christ? You talk about that and how you accepted Him, the changes that Christ made in your life or my life when we accepted Him. And these things will speak volumes to our students when we share our personal faith. We share our faith through our life, through our words, through the classroom itself. The very fact that you'll have the ESL class in your church building, or you could have it somewhere else, but even if you have it in the church building, that is a witness in itself. Maybe you want to put up Christian posters in the classroom. The classroom itself can be a witness. And then through classroom activities, oftentimes when I'm teaching a class and I use an example from a secular textbook, I will bring that example back to a biblical or a spiritual thought. And in so doing, I am further communicating in a subtle way gospel truths. And so these can be done through classroom activities. And of course, there's the devotional. I've already mentioned that 10 or 15 minute time that you take in class to have devotionals with your students. And then through Christian music. Wow, Christian music can be so powerful in your class. I have a lady that works with me. She plays the keyboard. We put the words to a chorus on the screen, a very simple chorus, and we sing together in class. Not only are we teaching spiritual truths through those Christian choruses, but we're also helping them learn English. They learn sentence structure. They learn pronunciation. And so teaching a simple English chorus can be such a blessing and will also minister to them. I want to tell you about Jose, a man that came to one of our English classes here last year. Jose received one of our flyers on his door. We had been out in the neighborhood and we put flyers out, door knockers on all the doors in that particular neighborhood, a neighborhood predominantly Hispanic. And Jose got one of our flyers and he came to one of our English classes. And Jose, we didn't realize at first, but he was the primary caregiver to his wife who has been suffering with cancer. Not only was this an opportunity for him to come to English class and to learn English, but it was also a time for him to get away and to take a break from the demanding schedule that he had, just taking care of his wife. But he came to class, and the class had been and it continues to be such a blessing in his life. And the teachers heard about his wife and being sick, and so they prayed in class for his wife, for her healing, for a touch upon her life, and she improved. And they were able to tell Jose, said, Jose, she improved because we prayed, and God answers prayer. And I think of another lady that came to our class, and I don't know exactly how she found us, but she came to class. Her name is Raina. Raina has 2 young girls in her home, 2 daughters. She is separated from her husband. She's from Mexico originally. Raina came, and after class, after a devotional, one day she came to me and she said, Mr. Steve, do you have misa? She was asking me in Spanish. Do you have Mass here? And I said, well, we have Bible study and we have a service at the Spanish church. And I gave her the direction, I gave her the address, how to get there. And Raina brought her 2 daughters with her to the church. And we didn't realize, but one of her daughters is severely disabled mentally and physically. And again, Raina, it's such a tremendous burden just caring for this daughter. She does get some relief during the day with one of the care agencies taking care of her daughter for a few hours. But nonetheless, we were able, through the ministries of ESL and the Spanish church, to minister to her and help her with food and Christmas gifts last year for the kids, and ministering to her spiritually in the church. And so these are just some examples of what can happen as we minister to our students through this wonderful ministry of ESL. About 5 years ago, we were doing ESL classes in our ministry center, and we decided so why don't we start this fall? Why don't we start a Bible study on a Wednesday night? We were having English classes, I think, on Monday nights. And we said, why don't we start a Bible study on Wednesday nights and invite our students and see if they'll come. We didn't have a clue, didn't have an idea if they would come or not. But we started having Bible studies on another night, and several of them started coming. And it started growing, and it got bigger and got bigger. And 4 families came to us and said, could we start having church services? And said, well, why not? And so we did. We started church services, and that was the birth of a brand new church plant, a Spanish language church plant that's going today. Today that church is in its own building, and it's growing. But it all began with 4 families who were part of an ESL class. Discipling your students. We do this through classroom devotionals that we've mentioned already, Bible studies at a different time, through other events at your church. And then ultimately we leave the results in God's hands. Sometimes the results are immediate, but sometimes it takes 2 or more years to disciple a person to the point where they are ready to follow Christ and be a Christ follower, be a Christian. To bring them along, it takes some time. And so ultimately what we have to do is leave the results to God. And again, we want to just tell you that my wife and I, we are available to help you. Call us, write us, contact us if we can help you in any way in starting an ESL ministry in your local church. We are also available to come do live trainings. Usually it takes place on a Friday night and most of the day on Saturday, but we're able to come and do a live training in your church. We've done many of these over the years in many different locations, but we're available to do that. Just let us know. Also, we want to give thanks to the Assemblies of God Intercultural Ministries Department of U.S. Missions for providing us this opportunity to do these sessions, these videos for you, and to help you to reach the internationals, the refugees and the immigrants in your community. God bless you all.